Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the preseason soccer training and competition webinar. My name is Nick Anderson. I am the staff lead for soccer this year. Thank you all for joining us. There we go. Okay, so the agenda, we're going to look through this. Before I move on to the next slide, so I show the slide for this. Again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. As I said, my name is Nick Anderson. We also have Mike Sarnowski on the call. And I believe we have at least one member, maybe two, of the, actually three, I forgot about Max, excuse me, of the newly formed soccer management team. Currently our soccer management team is Tom and Jeff Bailey. And then we also have three coaches. Again, I forgot about another one. We have three coaches, Mac McGee from Baltimore County, Bryce Elliott from St. Mary's County, and John McDonough from Howard County. So the soccer management team is just working to develop the sport of soccer, improve the sport of soccer, and further grow the sport of soccer within Special Olympics Maryland. Okay. Soccer paperwork, key forms. As all of you know, no athlete or volunteer may participate in any manner in Special Olympics Maryland without a valid and current medical form or volunteer application. There are no exceptions to this policy. Deadlines. The training registration deadline is 9/3/15. That is the day that the rosters are to be entered into GMS. That's all athletes, unified partners, coaches, volunteers, anyone participating in your program. Anyone submitted after this date is not eligible for the competition. So make sure, these are the dates that everything is due to us. So make sure that you work with all of your area leadership to get everything that they need to meet these dates before these dates. Do not wait until the 3rd to send them who's on your teams and who's on your rosters and everything. Make sure that you get it to them at plenty of time that they can get it entered into the system. The last day to turn in missing forms is 9/14/2015. That's medical forms for athletes, volunteer forms for unified partners, volunteer forms for coaches, any assistant coaches, volunteers, anyone associated with your team. As I mentioned, you must have a valid form. Everyone must have a valid form to participate. The form must be valid through November 1st, through the date of the competition. And then the competition registration deadline is October 1st. And that is the date that all team rosters must be entered into GMS. We actually internally will be entering those rosters. We'll talk here in a minute about how those will be submitted. As I mentioned, you need to work with your area leadership. The dates that we showed on the previous slide, those are the dates that everything has to be turned into us. So make sure you contact your area leadership, your area director, your registrar, your GMS person, your sports coordinator, whoever it may be. Make sure you communicate with them and make sure that you know the dates that they want everything. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm not going to read through this. You can read through it when you get the slide, but as I mentioned, athletes, they must have a medical form to participate. Scroll back. The last day to turn in paperwork, the 14th. If an athlete does not have a valid medical coming into the season, then they cannot participate until it's turned in. So don't think that, okay, as long as you get in by the 14th, it's okay for them to practice. They cannot practice without turning in that medical form. There's the medical form. I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with this form. Same thing goes for volunteers, whether that be coaches, unified partners, people that just assist at practice. They must have their form completed before they do any sort of, whether coaching, volunteering, playing if they're a unified partner. and they must have it valid through the date of the competition. There's a picture of the volunteer application. The student minor reference form for anyone under the age of 18. Incident reports. All coaches should be familiar with the incident report, and they should have incident reports at practice. If an injury occurs at practice, whether it be to a player, a spectator, if there's any property damage to the facility, if anything happens at practice at all, an incident form should be filled out and then sent to your area director immediately after. Here's a copy of that form. Whoever just joined us, if you could please hit *6 to mute your phone. SOMD competition sanction form for those areas who are hosting qualifiers and have not already sent in a sanction form. This is a picture of the sanction form, whether it be you as the coach or the sports league for soccer for your county. You fill this out. It must be signed by your area director, and then it is sent to Mike Starnowski. Soccer entries and entry process. Eligibility. Athletes and partners must compete in a minimum of 2 sanctioned qualifiers to be eligible to compete at the state championship. For teams, that's 77, 5v5, and PDU. 1 qualifier must be your required qualifier. Those required qualifiers are all 77 teams will be at Anne Arundel County. All PDU teams and all 5v5 teams ranging from the high school age teams, the 16 to 21 age group to be at St. Mary's County. And possibly we might have the elementary middle school required qualifier at Baltimore County or Baltimore City, much like we did last year. I'd actually invite everyone to unmute their phone right now, *6, or excuse me, anyone who has a elementary middle school team that is not from Baltimore City or Baltimore County, please unmute your phone and let us know, because that will determine when we actually host that, where we actually host that elementary middle school qualifier. So does anyone outside of Baltimore County or Baltimore City have an elementary or middle school age team? Again, *6 to unmute your phone if you do have a elementary or middle school age team you are from outside of Baltimore City or Baltimore County. Okay.
This is Mike. I'll do one final check with the area directors on Saturday, and then assuming there's no one that tells us there, we'll go ahead and make that shift.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so past your required qualifier, you must attend 1 additional qualifier, which must be sanctioned, and a multi-program qualifier. There's a number of qualifiers listed, so there should be, we hope to add more, so there shouldn't be an issue finding qualifiers this year for soccer. Team rosters may not be changed between qualifiers. So once you've submitted your roster to us, and we'll go through that date here in a minute, that's your team for the season. Okay. Individual skills competition. 1 qualifier for individual skills must be a sanctioned multi-program qualifier. Another qualifier may be a sanctioned in-house qualifier, which is a qualifier that's just your program, just your county program, but it's still run as an actual competition. You must have a properly lined field. You must use proper equipment. Officials are in place and conducted with the Special Olympics rules. And then your results must be recorded and submitted to SOMD HQ following the competition. And then at each qualifier, the athletes must compete in those events in which he or she shall compete at the state tournament. Athletes may be entered in 1 event at the state tournament. Okay, soccer events. We have the the 7 team soccer, which is traditional and unified, that's all adult teams, so 22 plus age groups. 5v5, traditional and unified, that's all youth teams, the 8 to 11, 12 to 15, and 16 to 21 age groups. And then the 7v7 PDU unified soccer, as well as soccer individual skills. Head coach certifications. Mike, how much do you want me to go into some significant detail here? I don't believe we've done this with the soccer group, correct?
Yes, please. This, while we've shared it with some general sessions for this, my guess is most coaches here are not familiar with this. So yeah, please
okay,
go into.
So it's been a long-standing rule within Special Olympics, which we at Special Olympics Maryland just haven't consistently adhered, that all head coaches must be certified within their sport and must have a valid coach certification, sport certification through the competition date, and you must receive that certification by September 14th. Coaches with previous sport certification, so anyone who's previously received a sport certification for soccer that's older than 3 years old, you just have to complete one general or one sport-specific learning opportunity to renew for this coming year. Coaches who have not previously been certified in a sport must complete 2 courses. They must complete the Coaching Special Olympics Athletes course, and they must complete a sport-specific course. A third situation that's actually not listed here, some coaches have in the past completed a sport-specific course, but have not completed the Coaching Special Olympics Athletes course. So anyone who has a sports certification but has never taken the Coaching Special Olympics Athletes course will need to take the Coaching Special Olympics Athletes course. This may apply to all coaches in the future, but at this point it just applies to head coaches. I'm going to go ahead and pause right here. Does anyone have any questions about the head coach certification process? If you do, press *6 on your phone.
Hi, this is Katie from Montgomery County.
Yes.
Hey, for sport-specific, maybe it's too obvious of a question, but is the coach's sport-specific certification have to be in soccer, or is it any sport-specific?
No, it would be for the sport that you are coaching. So for our purposes, it would be soccer.
Okay, so you're just using the same slide. Okay, and
yep.
Then I had a question on a previous slide for 7v7 PDU. Is that all age groups?
Yes.
Okay, so for high school, we're looking at possibly 2 high school teams. Are the options 5v5 and 7v7 PDU?
No, PDU is just a 7v7 format. So it's structured as 5 athletes and 2 on-field coaches.
Sure, but so what team structure options are going to be available for high school?
We'll actually cover 7v7, the actual rules with it here shortly, so that may answer some of your questions.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with the rules. I just wasn't sure if high school would have those options, but I'll continue on. You might answer. Thank you.
Okay, so currently scheduled coaches trainings, the 3 that are currently scheduled that would apply to the soccer coaches is the Soccer Master Coaches webinar. You must have a minimum of 5 years experience, plus your area director must recommend you to take this course. There is an in-person, that's a web-based training, the Master Coaches, sorry. There is an in-person training. It's in the Baltimore area. It's at the McDonough School in Owings Mills. That is on a Saturday. It's from 9:30 to 12. The link is here in the slides. We'll also include that when it's sent out. I'll include the link separately for that as well. And then we are hosting another online training, and it's a soccer beginner coaching or beginning coaches webinar. That is more for a coach who may have coached 1 or 2 years but just wants to learn more about the basics of soccer, or it would be for a brand new coach. A returning coach or a very experienced coach might not find much benefit in this course. Additionally, there are online trainings via ASAP. There are 2 for soccer, which are coaching youth soccer and coaching soccer principles. The coaching youth soccer, I believe, is a fully online-based course. The coaching soccer principles is actually a book, so you would sign up for that course. The book is delivered to your house. You read through the book and then complete an online test. So those are 2 options that are sports-specific options, in addition to the trainings that we mentioned before. What is an improved course for development experience? Sports-specific examples. So the live sports-specific trainings that we talked about, the in-person one, the online sports-specific training that we had talked about, which is the beginner coaches ones, those would count. Any ASEP course would count. A online or live training that's soccer related from the National Federation of High School Sport, or High School Association, sorry, State High School Association, would count. Any national governing body course. The Master Coaches webinar, which I had mentioned. Serving as an instructor for a Special Olympics Maryland sports-specific course. Structured mentoring experience is something that we're going to be looking to add in the future, but we don't have currently set up right now. And then we're always looking for other learning or development experiences. So we're open to your ideas. If you have any ideas or anything that you'd like to share, please feel free to do so at the end of this webinar or via email in the future. We're always looking for new ideas.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
The online coaching certification, it says 8/19/2015. If it's online, can we do that anytime, or is that just a deadline?
No, so that, it says online, but it's a webinar, so much like today.
So it's a webinar?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Yep,
thank
the
you.
Master Coaches webinar and the Beginning Soccer Coaches training are both webinar formats. So it would be identical to what we're doing today, just the content would be different.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is Dan Decker calling from Harford County. I have a question.
Yep.
The Soccer Master Coaches webinar says minimum 5 years experience plus area director recommendation required. The minimum 5 years experience, does that need to be Special Olympics experience, or can that also be in the, say, the county rec leagues? Basically, if you've coached soccer for 10 years in the county rec leagues, would those 10 years count as experience?
I'm going to pass that one off to Mike, just
Sure.
to make sure we get a consistent answer.
Yeah, that would count, provided you have at least 1 year or some experience with Special Olympics. The Master Coaches webinar is really a facilitated conversation among very experienced coaches. And the whole purpose there is, once folks are signed up for it, is we'll gather some issues that they're facing with their teams that they could use some help with. We will share those out with folks, and then it's a 2-hour or so conversation. We do it online in case we need to share anything, but it's a conversation where each coach helps the other that's there. So your experience in a rec league would certainly be beneficial, but you should have some experience within Special Olympics or working with people with intellectual disabilities, so you have that kind of context. But yeah, you can definitely count that towards that 5 years.
Okay, yeah, and I have the previous 2 years with Harper County Special Olympics.
That's wonderful.
Okay, I just needed to make sure.
Yeah, and I would recommend those of you who are experienced coaches. We've done this for basketball, for soccer, for cheerleading. That might be all the ones that we've actually held so far. The folks who have participated in them have found them exceedingly valuable. You really learn a lot from the other coaches, and you set up your own little network, basically, of folks that you can tap into throughout. So strongly recommend, if you're interested and able to join us, have your area director send us a note pretty quick, and we can get that all set up. I'm going to go ahead and mute again, Nick.
All right, great. Thank you. I'll mute now.
Okay, some other courses, some general coaching courses. There's coaching special needs athletes course that's we covered. Unified sports courses, first aid courses, any pre-approved learning or development experience that's targeted for coaching principals or coaching scientists or working with individuals with intellectual disabilities. If there's something out there, again, that you find on your own or you've taken in the past or you think might fit what we're looking for that we don't have listed or haven't mentioned, please feel free to share. We're always open to new ideas. Okay, rules reminder. New rules were published in April 2014 for soccer and most other sports. The applicable sections of the soccer rules are unchanged. Roster sizes, 77 rosters. The minimum is 10, maximum 14. Unified, you must have 4 athletes and 3 partners on the field at all times. 5v5, the minimum is 8, the maximum is 10. Unified, again, you have to have 3 athletes and 2 partners. And then PDU, the minimum is 10, maximum is 14. You must have 2 athletes and 3 mentors on the field at all times. Once rosters are set and teams had their first official game, there are no changes in the rosters. Players may only play for one team during the season. Teams may not swap or loan players to another team at any qualifier. The team survey will be required to be completed and submitted by September 10th. That will come out that'll come out in the follow-up here. It's almost identical to last year. There was one small change to the document, and it was just it's not a content change. It was just a layout change to make it slightly easier for people to fill out. So it'll look pretty familiar for all of our returning coaches. It is due prior to the first scheduled qualifier. It's just an initial assessment of teams' abilities for divisioning at early qualifiers. It will be shared, and it will be shared along with contact information with all of the coaches to facilitate scrimmages, home and away games, etc. As I mentioned before, we at SOMD HQ will enter the team rosters into GMS based on what is submitted. So make sure you have your roster exactly how you want it through the season, because that's what we're going to put into the system, and it will not be able to be changed. Okay, rules reminders again. Age groups for 5v5, again, as I mentioned earlier, we have the 3 age groups: elementary, middle, and high school. 77 in PDU, it's the 22 plus. The age group policy. Exemptions can be requested. There's no maximum number per team. You have to. It requires a proper request for the age group policy. We'll cover that a little bit later. Extreme age differences with athletes under 21 will not be approved. A player must be at least 18 to play up on an adult team by the state competition. There are some exceptions if you have a 17 or 18-year-old athlete who is rather large or advanced physically for their age. We will allow those situations. and then work with your regional sports director if you need assistance in a challenging situation decision.
Nick, one thing, I'm sorry, I forgot to put that on, put this one clarification on there as well. For Player Development Unified or PDU teams, for young teams, it sounds like we have some folks there that Montgomery County may have high school teams. Most of them are adult, but you may have some high school teams. The on-field coaches can be adults. The age policy would not apply to them like it would to partners on another team. So I apologize, I forgot to insert that on the slide when I was tweaking that for you. My bad.
No problem. Thank you, Mike. Uniforms. Players must be properly attired at all times. The pants, there's pants or shorts, no jeans. They shall be of similar or like color for all teammates. In cases of weather, varying colors will be allowed. Undergarments that are visible shall be like color among all teammates. Hats or headgear may only be worn for medical or religious purposes. Shoes having soft and yielding cleats are permitted for outdoor only, so no metal studs, no baseball spikes. Goalkeepers must wear colors that are not similar to their team's uniform. It's best if they wear a color that chances are nobody will wear for a uniform. A very, very bright pink, a very, very bright yellow, some sort of patterned shirt, tie-dye, something of that nature. Jewelry must be removed before competition. Shin pads / guards covered by socks are required for all players. Socks shall be of like colors for all team members. Okay, something that has come up in the past that we just wanted to make sure that we covered here is the principle of meaningful involvement. This is the next two slides. This is also directly from the Special Olympics general rules. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will read the highlighted sections. So once this comes out, just please make sure that you do read these next two slides. Teams should not include players who dominate play, exclude other teammates from contributing to the success of the team, or present a health and safety risk to players, or health and safety risk on the field of play. By permitting any player to dominate play, other players' roles and opportunities are greatly limited. Sanction or specific player sanctions. So if someone violates this policy, the principle of meaningful involvement, the officials can encourage voluntary substitution. They can assess a technical foul. So for soccer, they could assess a yellow card. The team consequences could potentially be forfeit of the game or disqualification of the tournament. One additional thing, as I mentioned, an official, it will determine that a player is dominating. That official shall sanction a player or coach. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a soccer sports committee, or soccer sports management team, excuse me. This is something that the soccer sports management team will discuss and will decide at what situation would merit a warning, what situation would merit a yellow card, what situation would merit a player being ejected from the game, and what extreme situation would merit a team being eliminated from the tournament. Chances are we'll never get to that extreme situation, but the soccer management team will work through all of that, discuss it, and will make those decisions, and then those decisions will not only be given to the officials, but will be sent out to this group of coaches here on the call tonight, and all of the soccer coaches, just so everyone knows what we will be operating under this year when it comes to the principle of meaningful involvement. Okay, rules reminders. Do we have Tom or Jeff Bailey on the phone with us tonight? If either of you are on the phone, could you press *6 to unmute, and I actually will let you go over the rules. If not, I will continue with them. Okay, sounds like we do not. So rules reminders. The 77 rules. I'm not gonna go over everything. We'll just cover some of the basics. The time, there are 2 20-minute halves with a 5-minute half time. There could be some variation based on schedules at qualifiers. If we're trying to fit in a particular number or specific number of games in a specific time, we might have to cut down the time just a little bit. Balls over the sideline can be either kicked or thrown in. 5v5 and PDU. It's 2 15-minute halves with a 5-minute halftime. Again, some variations may happen if needed or if necessary. And the ball that goes out of bounds on the sideline is kicked in. PDU highlights. If you notice off to the right-hand side here of the screen, the best way to think about PDU is it is 5v5 soccer with 2 coaches on the field. Don't think of it as a slightly different version of unified 7v7. It really is 5v5 soccer with 2 coaches on the field, played on a 7v7 field. Some of the highlights, it's a transition between the skills play and team play, so it's for some of your athletes who have sort of leveled themselves out of skills, but are not ready for a full-blown team play experience. This is a way to transition into it and help them learn the on-field game. As mentioned, there are 5 athletes and 2 mentors on the field. The goalie must be an athlete. Mentors are on-field coaches, and they facilitate the athletes in play. They are not players on the team like traditional unified soccer. They can give verbal or visual instructions. They can give physical instructions. They can receive the ball if it comes to them naturally. If it's kicked directly to them, they, of course, can stop it. They can keep the ball from going out of bounds. If it would go out of bounds, they can start offense following the opposing team scoring a goal. And they can escort an athlete down the field if the athlete is dribbling and advancing the ball. What a mentor cannot do, they cannot directly impact the course of the game. They cannot score. They cannot, I missed one. They cannot distract or confuse the opposing team. They cannot play defense, either actively or passively. Of course, if there's a situation where an athlete runs directly into a mentor and the mentor is clearly not trying to play defense, those situations will, of course, happen. But they cannot actively or passively play defense. They cannot steal the ball. They cannot block the shot. They cannot intercept the pass. They cannot impede the advancement of the opposing team down the field. They cannot shoo away members of the opposing team. They cannot excessively control the ball, and they cannot excessively control the game. So real quick, any of the PDU coaches on the call have any questions about anything on this or any points of clarification? Again, *6 to unmute. No, but moving on. Qualifiers. What is the point of a qualifier? The point of a qualifier is to get your team a competitive experience. Of course, at practice, you're going to have scrimmages. You might play other teams from your county. You might play other teams that you practice with. But the qualifier is to give your team a competitive experience against new opponents and to as closely mimic the state competition as possible. In order, was that a question? Sorry?
Right now, and then I'm going to use the left high clean packet.
Whoever's having a conversation in the background, if you could please hit *6 to mute your phone. Okay, in order for a qualifier to count, it must emulate state-level competition. It must follow the rules, both the Special Olympics rules and the national governing body rules. It must have knowledgeable and qualified officials. There must be a medical person on site. Ideally, you'd have at least 3 counties, if not more. The sanction form must be completed and submitted by the area director at least 30 days prior to the competition, and the results and team rosters must be submitted to SOMB HQ following the competition. Failure to adhere to anything above may nullify your event status as a qualifier. At this time, we have 8 multi-county qualifiers hosted by 4 counties. We'll show those in a minute here. Actually, we'll show those and then we'll come back to this slide. So currently, this is what we have listed. We have, again, the Howard County Soccer League at Cedar Lane Park. Thank you, John McDonough, for spearheading that and getting that set up for us. We also have the St. Mary's Soccer Qualifier at Choctaw Park. We have the Baltimore City Soccer Qualifier at Myers Pavilion. It is for all middle school and elementary school teams, and then limited others. And then again, that is an indoor soccer field for those of you who have not been there. So it'll be a slightly different game and a slightly different feel than the outdoor game, just because it is indoors. Then there is the Anne Arundel County Soccer Qualifier at Severn School. So back to the previous slide. Is there anyone who's not listed here who is planning to host a qualifier? Okay. So then, what would you need as a coach or as a sports coordinator, if we have any area directors on the call? What assistance would you need in order for you to host a qualifier?
And Nick, just to clarify for folks, when we're saying a qualifier, that doesn't mean, excuse me, having 20 teams come and play for an entire day. It can be limited to 2 or 3 teams that match well, and such. So don't necessarily be thinking about these huge events like the St. Mary's one, which is the required qualifier for PDU, and the under 21 teams, or the Anne Arundel, which is for all the adult and unified teams.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Yeah, you can even host. We've talked about in the past that a home-and-home type of deal would be perfect. If there's a neighboring county and your teams match up well, hosting a game or 2 during your normal practice time, and then going to visit that neighboring county during their practice time to play another game or 2, that would be perfectly acceptable. Is there anyone who thinks they'd like to host one, is planning on hosting one, or thinks they might need some assistance to host one? You don't need to speak up now, but feel free to contact me or contact your regional sports director if you need any assistance, or if you would like to schedule a qualifier.
And one other point, because folks may not be aware of this, provided you give us far enough advance notice, typically Tom and Jeff Bailey and their team of officials have been able to provide officials for the qualifiers. I think St. Mary's County and Calvert has hosted an event in the past, use a different group of officials in Southern Maryland. But we can't promise that it will always be the case, but if you give us ample notice ahead of time, they've been very successful in providing officials. So if officials are a concern, that may be able to be addressed with sufficient notice.
Thank you, Mike. Again, soccer dates and deadlines, we already covered all of these except for the pre-competition soccer webinar. That link will also be included in the follow-up webinar, so feel free to sign up now once that link comes out in the follow-up email, just so you don't forget to do so. Okay, resources. The soccer guide, will be distributed August 17th. We have the online trainings that we spoke of. SOMD, my SOMD. There is a coaches tab at the top. There is a soccer subsection that has some documents. It's got the rules. It's got all the resource guides related to soccer. There's coach's calendar, as well as SpecialOlympics.org. It has all the coaches guides as well as the embedded videos. There's the Special Olympics rules. There's some training session things. There's a bunch of different videos available. So there's a lot out there. There's a lot of resources out there for coaches. Does anyone have any questions now? So if everyone wants to unmute their phone, *6, and feel free to ask any questions you may have.
Hi, I have a question for you, if I could.
May I ask who this is?
Yes, hi, this is Chris Ahalt from Montgomery County. I believe Emily Golden, our head coach, had been in contact with Mike with questions about the slide tackling policy. In the past, we were pretty sure it was never permitted, but last year that seemed to be in question. I'm just wondering if that's been clarified.
Yeah, that's something the sports management team is going to be reconvening. She contacted me with that after the team had convened its first time. They will be reconvening. Nick, that's what, the 19th, I think. Well, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, they'll be convening, and that'll be a topic that they'll address at that time. I don't believe it'll be permitted. I think it might have just been an oversight or a question of definition, but we want to leave it to them to have that. So you should have that an answer to that before the first qualifier.
Okay, great. Thanks. I mean,
sure.
we feel strongly that it should not be permitted, but the officials, seemed to be confusion on the part of the officials at the tournament last year. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your question. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Katie again, Montgomery County, chiming in. So this maybe ties back to my high school question. Our other head coach is not available today, but last year we just had one team. My understanding is that was 7v7 that played up to the adult league. So what format should we be trying to meet this year to fit into the high school realm? Like, what other teams do you expect? A bunch of 5v5 traditional, or what?
You're specifically asking about high school teams in general, or is this high school PDU?
I think we would want to be traditional. I think that we have at least a solid team or two for traditional. Is there going to be competition?
Yes, there will be. Well, I should say there has been in past years.
Okay. But only at a 5v5 format, correct? Not 7?
7v7 is not offered for the high school age.
Okay. So we should be, if we have players that are definitely a high school age but able to play traditional, we should form 5v5 teams.
Yes, yes. In the past years, we've had teams within that age group. I would expect us to again this year, but no. I mean, obviously, no guarantee. There's no guarantee with anything, but yes, we've had those teams in the past.
Okay, and just to put it up for whoever's on the phone, I'm sure we would be open to doing like a neighboring county kind of meetup to play some games sometime. So as teams are formed, keep Montgomery County High School in mind.
Perfect. Yes, we'll send out, once we receive all of the assessment forms, with the self-rating, the team level, the team age, all of that with the coach's contact information will be sent out to everyone. So you'll have it readily, you'll be able to readily access any contact information for any of the other high schools.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Anyone else? Any questions at all?
Yes, this is Ann from Calvert. Are there going to be any other unified teams this year? Because our coaches wanted to know about whether they should. Last year we had 2 of our teams as unified, but they had a problem playing because some of the other people didn't seem to like the fact that they were unified, that they think the unified players are better than their players or something.
I would say, and again, yes, we are expecting to have unified teams. You had high school age unified teams.
A high school age, and we had 2 high school age. Actually, one was younger than the other. But
yes, so I know of some areas.
Lower ability.
I know of some areas. St. Mary's County has spoken about it, as well as some other counties of doing high school unified. Again, we hope that happens. We can't promise that it will, but it looks like we will have high school age unified teams. Okay,
because the coaches were wanting to know about if they should even attempt to do that, because we're starting our practices soon.
A question for anybody who's on the call right now: is there anybody else who, at this point in time, knows for certain that they would have high school age? That would be 16 to 21 year olds is how we define high school, but a unified high school team. And we can also verify or check with the area directors on Saturday to see, in case anybody who is not here, and can give them some guidance then. But anybody
okay,
having
thank you. I'll let them know. Thank you.
Hey, Nate and Mike, this is Mark Conner from St. Mary's County. We can't say for certain, but that is a strong possibility that we will have a high school team, and we did play last year, played the Calvert team.
And that was a unified high school team or just a traditional high school team?
Well, we played, it was a mixed game, I believe, because we were a traditional 5v5, and they were a unified team. So I think that's who we played at their tournament as well as at state.
Yeah, I think what she's trying to decide is whether to configure those teams as traditional teams as opposed to unified, if there isn't anybody else who has an actual unified team.
Right.
Mark, you did just say that, and I know we had talked about it at sailing as well a couple weeks ago. You in St. Mary's County are looking at turning that into a unified team as opposed to the traditional team you had last year, correct?
Correct, because we have a lot of 22-year-olds now that will be adults or, a similar arrangement there. But to backfill the team that they're leaving, we're looking at making that a unified team.
Oh, that would be great.
We're having a meeting right after this with the rest of the county to talk about that.
Wonderful.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ann and Mark. Any other questions? Last call for questions. *6 to unmute your phone.
Hello? This is Kara Tomer from Montgomery County. I kind of wanted just to follow up on the conversation and confusion about the high school team for Montgomery County. Because we did, I'm the manager of that team. We played last year, and we played up 77. And I think there was concern about playing the 5v5 because the team didn't need coaches on the field at the time and wanted to have the competition of the 77. Is there an option for that?
I'm not sure I'm following your question. So it was a traditional team, correct? Not a PDU team?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so the coaches on field for 77 only apply to 77 PDU. That's a separate category of team.
No, but my understanding is you're saying that if we have a high school team, we have to play 5v5. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is no 7v7 for the high school age group. The high school age group falls under the 5v5 category.
Okay, so last year we had a high school team that didn't have appropriate competition, so they played up as a 7v7. That's how they trained and that's how they played. And there didn't seem to be any challenges, from my understanding. I guess you could get feedback from last year at state.
Mike, I'm going to go ahead and let you field this one since I wasn't part of that process last year.
So what I'm saying is that I think in terms of the competition level, it was appropriate competition level for the team, and I'm concerned that there might not be appropriate competition for that group.
Yeah, hi, this is Mike, and we may have to take this offline because we have another webinar for distance running coming up momentarily.
Or we can discuss it another time. I mean, we can talk about it later on.
Right. Well, we'll see Pam and Frank and Shelley all on Saturday, and I'm sure we can chat then and continue it for there. They're based on the teams that I saw last year for the 5v5 high school traditional teams. There were definitely two very talented teams that I think folks may have underestimated the level of talent that was there. So I think we can make an assessment of the level of your players and give you some feedback early on as to what where they would be best.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, as Mike mentioned, we are running up against another webinar, but are there any pressing questions that you feel like you need answered tonight? All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate you spending the hour with us. We're very excited to get the soccer season started. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Again, my name is Nick Anderson. And you also feel free to contact your regional sports director if you have, if you're more comfortable contacting them, if you have a relationship with them. But as I mentioned, I'm the staff lead for soccer this year, and I'm more than happy to answer any of your soccer-related questions. So thank you very much again, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you.